passionate desire to keep on going, the admiral in charge decided to turn around. It was heartbreaking for Churchill. The Turks had just run out of ammunition. The leaders of the Ottoman Empire were packing their things to flee. Everyone was ready to surrender. And the British admiral turned around.
He argues violently against the retreat, with Istanbul only 1 hour away. He rallies Kitchener and Prime Minister Herbert Asquith to his cause, then shoots off a strong cable to Admiral Jerobeck, ordering him to renew the attack immediately. But the telegram goes nowhere. First Sea Lord Jackie Fisher refuses to send it. Churchill storms away, anguished in his belief that the war in the Middle East could have been won on that day. In early January 1915, the Ottoman army begins an advance across the treacherous Sinai Desert to strike the most important possession of the British Empire in the Middle East, the Great Suez Canal, the lifeline that connects England to its far-off territories and spheres of influence in Iran, Afghanistan, and India. If the Turks can shut down the canal, they will cripple the British war effort in the Middle East. Jamal Pasha, the Minister of the Navy, takes command of the Ottoman Fourth Army in Palestine, and his advance across the Sinai begins. About 15,000 men have to cross more than 100 miles of searing desert. They have to bring artillery, rafts, and pontoon boats, water and food for the troops and draft animals.
What he hoped to do, because obviously he can't take Egypt, which was defended reasonably well by the British, with an army of that size, but he hoped that he would start some sort of jihad once he got across the canal, and that would destroy the British position in Egypt. But he never really gets across the canal, and his army was defeated, and it ruined his reputation.
After 2 weeks of hard marching, Jamal Pasha's army arrives near the canal. The British are still unaware of its presence. On the night of February 2nd, Turkish troops advance to the water's edge and launch their boats into the canal. A small British observation post reacts to the commotion and opens fire. The Turks, untrained for a water crossing, jump out of their boats or drop them at the shore. While about 60 men actually make it to the other side of the canal, they are soon killed, wounded, or captured. When morning arrives, so do British reinforcements. The Turks continue to attack, trying to hold a bridgehead at the canal, but they are soon driven away. The grand plan to capture the vital British waterway has collapsed. The Turks have no option but to withdraw, back across 120 miles of desert, with nothing to show for their efforts except for about 2,000 casualties. In the following months, the British sent so many troops to defend the Suez Canal that the Turks dare not attack it again. Lord Kitchener, reluctant to send troops to the Middle East, finally agrees to support Churchill's plan for an invasion by land to capture Istanbul. On April 22, 1915, a British army made up mostly of Australian and New Zealand troops, along with some French forces, crams into Royal Navy ships for the journey to Gallipoli, a narrow peninsula of land on the western side of the Dardanelles Straits.
For 3 days and 3 nights, 4 men lived where one would have been cramped in that iron-cased, floating stink hole, eating badly cooked food and drinking warm water. By the night of the 3rd day, as we neared Gallipoli, we were in the mood for anything. We'd fight anybody for anything. We didn't care what.
General Ian Hamilton, commanding the Mediterranean Expeditionary Force, intends to land his troops and drive up the Gallipoli Peninsula to attack and capture Istanbul. In London, the government anticipates news of a great victory in a few days. On April 25, 1915, nearly 80,000 British troops come ashore at Anzac Cove and Cape Helles, while